just to summarize what the Guardian article says, it calls itself an investigation. It's thousands of words long. The main claim that it makes is that India has killed individuals inside Pakistan on its soil. It says India has carried out 20 killings since 2020 in Pakistan, all of them terrorists. It says India has intensified killings after 2019, which was the Pulwama and Balakot here. It says India has been named by the US and Canada as well, apart from Pakistan, for these extrajudicial killings on its soil, and that Khalistani separatists are being targeted by India in Pakistan and the West, and that killings by Indian intelligence sleeper cells are operating from the United Arab Emirates. Millions of rupees are paid to Pakistani criminals, they say, for these particular killings, and that Indian agents have allegedly hired jihadists to conduct these assassinations of terrorists inside Pakistan. The focus on dissidents abroad was triggered by the Pulwama attack, says this Guardian article. Now remember that the surprising aspect of the Guardian investigation, and I say investigation in quotes, is that most of it, if not all of it, has already been reported in some form or the other. I want to prove that to you because it's not just a claim here on India Today, because here on India Today, we've been reporting relentlessly and consistently by our reporters, Arvind Ojha, Ankit Kumar and others, about the mysterious deaths of India's most wanted terrorists sitting in their safe havens inside Pakistan since July last year. And these are deaths that date back to 2020. To start with India Today's Crime Bureau Chief Arvind Ojha, who's actually reported on most, if not all, of the terrorist deaths that have been mentioned in the Guardian article. Arvind, आपने लगातार पिछले एक साल में बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टिगेटिव स्टोरीज किए हैं इंडिया टुडे और आज तक पर, जिसमें ये मिस्टीरियस डेथ्स को लेकर जो मामला चल रहा है पाकिस्तान में, आपने काफी इन्वेस्टिगेट ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं. आपका क्या असेसमेंट है ये जो गार्डियन का पीस है, जिसमें कोई भी ऑन रिकॉर्ड नहीं है, कोई भी डायरेक्ट एविडेंस नहीं है, कोई भी सबूत नहीं है? आप कैसे देखते हो इस गार्डियन आर्टिकल को, अरविंद?
नहीं, देखिए शिव, ना सिर्फ इंडिया टुडे आज तक ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया था बीते 2 साल में जो टेररिस्ट इंडिया से जो वांटेड टेररिस्ट है वो मारे जा रहे हैं, बल्कि हमने कुछ न्यूज ब्रेक भी किया था जो वहां पर अननोन गनमैन ने जिनको मर्डर किया था. देखिए, ये बात सही है कि बीते 2 सालों में इंडिया के जो मोस्ट वांटेड टेररिस्ट है जो सेफ हेवन में है वो मारे जा रहे हैं. ये बात सच्चाई है. चाहे वो पठान कोट अटैक का जो हैंडलर था शाहिद लतीफ हो, हंजला अदनान हो, ये सब वो टेररिस्ट है जिनको आईएसआई ने सिक्योरिटी दी हुई थी और उनको वहां पर मारा गया था. अब पाकिस्तान एक परेशान मुल्क है. वहां पर कोई भी परेशानी होती है, कोई भी मर्डर होता है, कोई भी टेरर एक्टिविटी होती है, वो सीधे वहां के जो हुक्मरान है वो इंडिया पर एलिगेशन लगाकर कहीं ना कहीं अपनी जो मुल्क के लोग हैं उनसे बचने की कोशिश करते हैं. जहां तक रही बात गार्डियंस के इस आर्टिकल की, तो मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग जैसा आपने बताया सब कुछ ओपन सोर्स पे है. पाकिस्तान का जो क्लेम है वो भी, पाकिस्तान ने कुछ दिन पहले एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था शाहिद लतीफ के मर्डर पर और आरोप लगाया था, लेकिन कोई भी रॉ के ऑफिसर्स का ना तो नाम ले पाए, ना कोई डॉक्यूमेंट्स था उनके पास. कुछ एक जो उनके पाकिस्तान के लोग थे जिन्होंने मर्डर को अंजाम दिया था, उन्हीं को अरेस्ट करके एक ब्लेम कर दिया था. ब्लेम गेम का गेम चल रहा था. लेकिन ज्यादातर सब कुछ जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन का दावा किया जा रहा है द गार्जियन की तरफ से, वो सब कुछ ओपन सोर्स में है. यहाँ तक कि जो पाकिस्तान का क्लेम है वो भी ओपन सोर्स में है. जो एक इंडियन इंटेलिजेंस ऑफिसर की बात है, अगर कोर्ट होता तो बात समझ में आती, लेकिन ये बात सच्चाई है कि जो इंडिया के मोस्ट वांटेड टेररिस्ट है बीते सालों में वो जरूर मारे गए हैं पाकिस्तान में, और उसके पीछे कहीं ना कहीं जो वहां की आपसी वर्चस्व की लाई है टेरर ग्रुप के बीच वो मानी जाती है. वो अलग बात है कि वो अपने आप को बचाने के लिए वहां के हुक्मरान इंडिया पर आरोप लगाते हैं.
अरविंद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जुड़ने के लिए. Arvind's articles and reports can be seen on the India Today website and on the India Today app as well as our YouTube channel. You can see for yourself that all of this has already been reported. It's already open source, and yet the Guardian makes it out to be some kind of an investigation. Let me bring in Sushant Sareen and Ambassador Rajiv Dogra. Sushant, to you first. Apart from the litany of very elementary errors that many people have spotted in this Guardian article already, including, an erroneous picture of one terrorist who actually happens to be someone who was arrested in Delhi last year, claiming that Gurpatwant Pannu is dead, and I'm guessing a few others at least. How are you reading this article, Sushant?
So, Shiv, here is the question. Such an quote-unquote explosive story, such a big expose, and you don't even do basic fact checks.
Yeah.
And publish this. What was the haste in publishing it? Could you not have gone through it with a fine-tooth comb? And everybody says that Guardian, gold standard of journalism. Well, we've seen, what a crappy standard the gold standard in the UK is. But having said that, what is the new information they've brought? You yourself have, and your correspondent Arvind have already reported on these stories. Most of these stories have been sourced from Pakistani sources. Now, it's all very well for the Pakistanis to claim that the Indians have done it. And frankly speaking, for myself, I'll say if the Indians have done it, very good. I think this is exactly what needs to be done. If you're dealing with a rogue state like Pakistan, where these terrorists are. Incidentally, somebody should ask Pakistan what these 20 despicable terrorists were doing in Pakistan, living under patronage and protection of the ISI. Why were they there? So that question needs to be asked. But please ask the Pakistanis, since they have been doling out these dossiers to various, rags like Guardian, to a rag called Intercept, to certain other Pakistani journalists who've been publishing these reports. And what happens is, Shiv, it's very interesting. One guy publishes, the other guy publishes the same thing. So you build up a body of work, and then everybody seems to start quoting each other. It's this incestuous relationship, and you try and portray it as the truth. But please tell me, what is the evidence? Now, they claim that India has paid tons of money to them. Have you traced the money? Okay, fine. You can't trace the people who gave the money. Is there a money trail to actually nail where the money has gone, who has received the money, how much money has come, from which source it has come?
Yeah.
I have not seen any such evidence so far.
Correct.
Okay. Number two, and then to quote a former RAW official. Now, anybody who's dealt with Indian intelligence agencies knows one thing, that a former official has absolutely no value. He's like a former general in the Pakistan army. Okay. He's completely out of the loop. Even while you are serving in these agencies, you are working in silos. One silo does not know what the other guy is doing. So unless that official, that quote-unquote unnamed official was actually responsible, which he probably was not and must have been long retired, then his analysis is as good or as bad as mine. But more importantly, Shiv, what you have to understand is that, and I have dealt with many of these RAW officials, some have colleagues in ORF and other places. I can tell you one thing. The officials who really deal with sensitive matters never open their mouth on any one of those matters.
Correct.
You can take a guy like Vikram Sood, you can take a guy like Tilak Dweshwar, I can name any number of them. I have known them for decades. And I can tell you one thing, not once, despite my best efforts to draw them out, not once have they revealed even a single damn thing, which I've always against them, despite the fact that they're very close friends. And the ones who open their mouth have actually not dealt with anything sensitive.
This is totally true. If someone's making all these extravagant claims, that's probably the first indication that they've gone nowhere near any kind of covert operation of any consequence. Ambassador Dogra, do you agree? How are you reading this article? Also, what do you think are the intentions behind it? Because as Sushant said, it seems to have been very hastily put together. No copy editing, no fact checking, none of the basic journalistic sort of principles that the Guardian usually shouts from the rooftop about.
Well, I think as Sushant very rightly said, why were those terrorists in Pakistan? I mean, shouldn't that be the first question?
At least the Guardian calls them terrorists, sir. At least the Guardian calls them terrorists.
And the second thing, when I saw this article yesterday morning, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh no, some more anti-India trash by this journalist. I've read any number of her articles. Not one is neutral on India. Every article is poison-tipped.
Yeah.
So I was not surprised by the contents of the article. Still, I read it. Normally, I would not read her articles. Still, I read it because of the venom in it and of the accusations. Twice, she's referred to the highest in PMO as being directly responsible. As if she's got a source in PMO who told her that yes, it was authorized. Second thing is that she has cohabited with Pakistani security or intelligence agents who are famous. Now, to put it in Hindi, they can beat a Gadha and make him confess he's a Ghoda and vice versa.
True.
So she is doing exactly the same. So she is putting together some bits from here and there and coming to a conclusion which any responsible journalist would not do. The other thing that came to my mind was, why now? After all, the elections are just a couple of days away.
Correct.
So any foreign journalist would think twice before giving such a huge anti-India story.
No, and also Ambassador Dogra, I mean, there is a perception that this actually, in a voter's mind, and I don't want to be facetious about this, but in a voter's mind, this is making India look good. You're whacking your enemies abroad. I'm just boiling it down to its simplest. The voter is not going to say, oh, hey, Bhagwan, my country is so terrible, it's killing our enemies abroad. They will actually enjoy something like this. So politically speaking, this benefits the BJP.
You are absolutely right. But the government of India, be it BJP or any other party, the government of India has maintained through surgical strikes, through Balakot, that we will do it openly.
Yes.
In fact, I believe yesterday Prime Minister said the same thing.
Correct.
And
today also. Yeah.
Defense Minister also said the same thing. So we are not shy of saying that we will not tolerate terrorism. But her motivation was not this. Her motivation was not to support the ruling party.
Yeah.
Her motivation was to spread the message to the international media and to her international clients, whoever they are.
Yeah.
India is really doing a hit job, which is reprehensible. So her credentials were in doubt.
Okay.
To me, her credentials were suspect through this article, and her motivations were not
okay.
at all.
I take your point. Sushant, I want to come to the diplomatic aspect of it. Given that Canada has pointed a finger at India, the United States has a case that's ongoing on Gurpatwant Pannu as well. In light of what happened last year, does this article, and I mean in general the kind of allegations that arise out of this article, do they pose some kind of a foreign policy or a diplomatic challenge for India in your view?
Not really. It's caused a bit of a spat, but it's a classic case of the Western countries, the pot of the Western countries calling the Indian kettle black. Frankly speaking, it's not as though these are guys who've never carried out some kinds of operations in other countries. The Americans are notorious for it. Even Trudeau's father carried out some operations in France and then, was caught with his hand in the till. But the point is, what is the evidence that the Canadians have produced on the Pannu killing?
Yeah.
Please tell us. Now, every time this clown comes on television, Trudeau, he comes and keeps talking about the Pannu killing and Canada is a rule of kind of rule of law exists in Canada. But somebody should ask him, what is the evidence you have produced? Nothing whatsoever. Even the stuff which is there in the American courts is very flimsy as of now, right? There is no solid, unimpeachable kind of evidence. And then these leaks here and there. But that is as far as, the Western world is concerned.
Yeah.
But some the Western world should also ask that the FATF had booked the Pakistanis for harboring these terrorists and giving them a free hand.
Indeed.
Pakistanis booked Hafiz Saeed and claimed that we have put him in jail for 15 years. When that bomb blast, which you mentioned in your report, Shiv, happened, it turned out that Hafiz Saeed was not in jail, he was living in his house.
Correct.
Why was somebody asking the Pakistanis that how is a jailed man living in his house? But, the bizarreness, and as far as these fellows are concerned, the Pakistanis have latched on to Canadian quote-unquote credible allegations, whatever that means. It's an oxymoron if you ask me. Yeah. But they have latched it on because they thought, okay, fine. Now, we can also wash our clothes in this particular soap water, which the Canadians have produced. So that is why they are spreading this kind of nonsense. But somebody should ask them, that there have been cases, and I wonder if this Guardian journalist, who's clearly quite a trashy journalist, why has the Guardian newspaper not investigated a story which comes out of Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, of a character who's paid by the ISI to travel to Netherlands to kill a Pakistani dissident?
Good question.
Caught in red-handed, is then prosecuted and is gone into jail for 25 years. Why has the Guardian not bothered to ever investigate that story and come out with who has been responsible for these kind of extraterritorial, extrajudicial killings, whether in Sweden, where Baloch activists have been killed, or in Canada, in Toronto, where a Baloch activist has been killed? What about that? What about the admission of Musharraf in a television interview where he says, yes, we will go and we are going to go and we are actually killing, anti-Pakistan or Pakistani dissidents outside Pakistan?
Absolutely.
He is admitting that on record. I don't think anybody in India has said that. In India, people keep saying, because we like to, thump our chest all the time.
True.
We keep saying, should be doing this. And I completely agree. We should be doing it. But please, somebody tell me, actually, have we done it or have we not done it? I would give them a Bharat Ratna if they've done it. If they've kind of operations which the Guardian accuses them of carrying out, then world's #1 agency is not ISI, it's RAW.
It's RAW, yeah. Last word to you. I just have a couple of minutes left, Ambassador Dogra. India has called this article false and malicious. Does it end there? I mean, do you think that there's going to be more from where this came from, especially since it's election season?
Well, knowing the kind of stuff that she writes, I don't think she's going to give up. She might lie low for a little while, maybe.
Not just her, I mean in the press in general.
In the press in general, I think we can expect some more. International press and their sympathizers, wherever they are. They have some kind of a love-hate relationship with India.
Yeah.
Whether it's journalists or politicians outside, they feel that India is important, but India should not stray from the lines and boundaries drawn by them. Now, that cannot happen. India is too big a country and too responsible a country to follow someone's command. So, we should not expect anything from a journalist like her. But at the same time, we should not overemphasize the effect of her writings.
Okay.
I
get what you're saying. Sushant, you had your finger up. 15 seconds left on the show. Yes, last word.
I just wanted to make a tiny correction to what Ambassador Dogra said. Look, this bunch of the Western media, which is white, racist, quote-unquote liberal, they don't have a love-hate relationship with India. They have a hate-hate relationship with the Hindus of India, just because they are trying to assert themselves and they're trying to rediscover their heritage. They have nothing but undiluted hate, and these are nothing but white Christian racists who operate under this very liberal kind of rubric. But at the end of the day, we know where they are coming from.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Dogra, Sushant Sareen. Always a pleasure helping us decode this Guardian article, which is still resonating, at least on social media. We'll have to see if the government does anything more about it. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with me here on the first segment on 5 Live.